So a few months ago, I was sitting in a room full of people, just like here, and sitting in one of the few front rows was a man named Felix. Sitting next to him was his daughter. She looked like she was around 8 or 10 years old. She had this pitch black hair and these big dark eyes, and she kept on looking back at me, almost for confirmation. Just after that, Felix then went on stage and gave a presentation, and we heard his story that he was actually an activist in Nicaragua, and for speaking up for what should be a given right to him. He was jailed, tortured, and taken away from his wife and kids for a few years. The story really touched me here, because I too have 2 kids, and I couldn't imagine, I get emotional, being taken away from my 2 humans. Fortunately, through the help of HRF and a few other people, he was able to be taken back to his family. My name is Mogashni. I'm from the Bitcoin design community. And my role in the ecosystem at large is helping to create a better user experience for the Bitcoin products and applications that we hold in our hands. I believe that in creating these applications, we need to connect with the humans behind the humans actually using our applications. And we can only know this through figuring out their stories. Real practical use cases of people all over the world. How do they use Bitcoin? How can Bitcoin help them? Enters research. So this is a little bit of a funny story. A few years ago, when I entered into the Bitcoin design community, I come from a background of research, and I remember entering into the community and the ecosystem, and there was little to no research being done. So I was just like, something's wrong here. You know, I shook my head. And I then became an evangelist for research in the ecosystem. How do we do research? We do research to build these products and these applications. How do we do that? We first sit, and I believe that the only way to do this is to sit across the table from the people who are going to use our products, and actually look them in the eye and hear their stories. We need to interview them. Because if we don't interview them, then we're building products for ourselves. Because we have no insight into the psychology and the use cases. Through sitting across the table from them, looking in their eyes, hearing their stories, we can then understand the problem space. I believe that it's really important to understand the problems before moving into solutions. Because if we come up with solutions before we actually understand the problem space, then we're only hypothesizing. And then we build stories. So freedom is something I think most of you've been to the You've been to the Freedom Forum the last 3 days. You've heard of all of the stories from the activists. Freedom is something that maybe some of you might realize is something that we might have taken for granted when we listen to their stories. Yet financial freedom for activists is something that, when you've heard the stories of all of these activists, it's something that they've needed to fight for, not for months, but for years. The countries that they live in take away their access to their bank accounts. Enters Bitcoin. I had to bring some fun into the presentation. You know, but this is a super fun concept. Big shout out to Spiral, herecomes.bitcoin.org. It's a fun way of presenting Bitcoin in a very human way. And there's a super cool video on YouTube about it as well. It's very funny. Bitcoin has the potential to, in a very practical way, help people who we can refer to as, high-risk people. So, of course, we will go into the problem space. No, Bitcoin can help. He should understand that. Okay. All right, Siri's wrong there. Okay, so the top 3 problems. So we go into the top 3 problems, and And this is not my own work. I have to say that all of the work that I share with you here on the stage is a collaboration of work done by a few people. So privacy for both senders and receivers, exchange and access to the Bitcoin, as well as education. We'll dive into each of those. Okay, starting off with user stories. In UX research and in UX design, we use this formula as basically as a description of a user. I want this functionality so that I can have this benefit. Let's dive into the user stories and the solutions, possible solutions. Okay, so as Felix, enters Felix, we bring a real human right here on stage who we're building for. As Felix, I want to send and receive Bitcoin without KYC so that I can protect my identity. Possible solutions, and this is a really important one. All of these solutions are being built right now. These builders are here at this conference. Possibly some of them are here in this room. We have Eric right here who's working on eCash. So these solutions are being built right now, and we have the possibility, if we collaborate, to bring these solutions out as UX designs to these people. eCash is a solution, Fedi is a solution, a possible solution, CoinJoins, silent payments, and Tor, non-Bitcoin related. But just to touch on this one, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. So we really do need to understand particular use cases to understand which of these solutions would fit them. Next, we move into the second one. As Felix, I want to spend Bitcoin in a community setting so that if I'm persecuted, my funds will be accessible. So he's persecuted, he has Bitcoin. What then happens to his Bitcoin if he's been taken away from his family setting? Did I skip a slide? Okay, next one. As Felix, I want to exchange Bitcoin for fiat so that I can pay for basic living costs. Because it's all good and fine if he has Bitcoin, but he needs to pay for basic living things like food and electricity. Possible solutions to these are, for exchange and access, are peer-to-peer trading, so people who have Bitcoin trading amongst each other, as well as a StableSat integration in the application. So I'll speak human here. StableSat is basically you convert Bitcoin into your local currency. Education. Another possible thing that activists need is they need education on how Bitcoin can help them. This can be done in the onboarding flow, as well as creating a specific backing process for them. If you think about the traditional 24-seed phrase, you cannot expect someone who is under psychological duress to remember 24 words to access their wallet. So this is something that we need to think about as a community. Coming back to community, I like to use the word we and not I. So big shout out. These people are here in the room. Christoph, Daniel, who's not here, as well as Michael. All people who I get to work with. Very fortunate to get to work with them. Right. I will end with a story. Very good. I have 3 minutes left. So many years ago, I jumped into the Bitcoin design community, and I jumped on a call. Bitcoin Core app. They were building Bitcoin Core app. They still are, by the way. So curiosity brought me to that call within the community. Curiosity. So I remember jumping on that call, and the developers were on the call, and there were 2 designers, and they were speaking. It was an hour call, and I remember thinking, this is clearly not English that they're speaking, because I don't understand anything that they're saying. But later, now 3 years later, I actually do understand because I remained curious. So I'm inviting you to remain curious with me. If you're curious about learning how to be funded for your design work in the space, and you're passionate in helping to improve the ecosystem, please reach out to us, the Bitcoin Design Foundation. If you want to build together and have fun doing so and build in public, please join us at the Bitcoin Design community. We have loads of fun. I'd also like to say a big thank you to Spiral, as well as HRF, because they really help support us to do the work that we do. And that's a big thank you for me. You can find me at Mox Design and mox.design.